you had an unusual start to your business career. Tell us about your early journey, sort of going obviously through the army originally.
Yeah, I mean, I've always worked. I've worked from the age of 11, and the reason I've always worked is because I came from a normal working class background, and a very good upbringing, but money was tight. So I always knew to get those extra things in life that I was going to have to do things for myself. So I've done everything as a youngster, from deliver milk to work in supermarkets, to deliver newspapers, chicken catching, emptying bins, making badges and selling them at school, all that sort of stuff. After the army, I was due to go back to university to study, and I had a 10-month gap. And that 10-month gap I filled by getting involved with a life assurance company selling pensions, mortgages, and life assurance on a commission-only basis and on a self-employed basis. So that was my introduction, if you like, to the big bad world outside the secure army that I'd just left, and gave me my first taste, if you like, about self-employment and how the world worked. And it was a great grounding because, it was commission-only, so you didn't sell, you didn't eat. My one brain cell could comprehend what I was told to do, and that was make 4 appointments a day. You make 4 appointments every day, even the worst salesman in the world would do quite well. And back then, 1987, the carrot was that you'd earn £1,000 a month. And £1,000 a month was a lot of money in 87, particularly for a squaddy who'd just come out of the army. My army career, I joined up to the Paras. I'd seen service in the Falklands, and obviously I'd learnt a lot of skills within the military. What happened with the insurance company, I actually became fairly successful, and I think it was something like top 6 salesmen out of 600. And I started earning £3,000 and £4,000 a month, which was a huge amount of money back then. I did that for about 2 years, and it was fairly successful, as I said. And I was going around opening branches for this company and recruiting sales guys and training them, etc., etc. Then one day they sent me to Croydon to open a branch. Now, no disrespect to Croydon, but that was the catalyst for me to move back to Scotland and do something else. In the interim, I got married. We were expecting our first baby, and we just wanted to have a family business. So what happened was that I moved back to Scotland. I got a job on the oil rigs, which gave me 2 weeks working on the oil rigs as a medic, 2 weeks off. And the 2 weeks off gave me plenty of time to research the business that I wanted to go into. My ex-wife was a nurse, and at that time Thatcher was encouraging more regulation in the care home industry, higher standards. I mean, a lot of the industry was revolved around bed and breakfast at seaside resorts in those days, not heavily regulated. And the closure of long-stay hospitals. So I saw a real opportunity there, and was seen it as an opportunity for myself and my wife to have a family business. And then, that was the start of the monster that I've grown now.
Yeah. Well, now forgive me because I haven't been in the army, but I know that quite a few of my readers and viewers actually, have an army background, and from the outside it would seem like the idea of entrepreneurism and the army come from completely different ends of the spectrum. On one hand, you're told what to do, where to do, and on the other hand, to being an entrepreneur, you really have to have a mind that's open to a lot of different things. Do you think that there were lessons that you learned being in the army that were useful to you, or did you have to overcome things?
No, I think there was a huge amount of lessons that you learned in the army. I think, I take your point, you are in a very disciplined, structured environment, but you're also in a free-thinking environment. And what I mean by that is that it's very task-orientated in the military. You have to get the job done with the resources that you have. Now, if you think in a combat situation, your resources could be deplenished really quickly because you guys are getting killed around you, but you still have to complete the task. So what it did was gave you a very strategic way of thinking, a very disciplined way of thinking, but also a creative way of thinking because you had to be creative around the resources that you had. And as I said, very task-orientated and goal-orientated. So the success was on finishing the task, no matter what it took. And I think it also gave you that ability to work long hours, unusual hours, to go that extra mile. And I think that's very important. You have to be able to take a little bit of pain and go the extra mile when you're an entrepreneur. And you will get setbacks. There's no doubt about it. You will get setbacks. But you need to be able to overcome them. And through adversity, you need to come out the other end. So I think the military gives you a lot of skills that you can transfer into an entrepreneurial environment. But I could understand why somebody would think, that disciplined nature of the military wouldn't allow you to do that. But no, it doesn't. You have to be creatively of mind to be in the military sometimes.
Now, you obviously shot to fame in the media when you did The Secret Millionaire in 2009. Was a very moving experience for you, obviously. What did you take away from that experience?
That's I've always been a caring type individual anyway. I like people, I like my fellow man. But I think humility is one of the biggest qualities that any leader can have. And as a business leader, I believe that you're very much a visionary. You're very much a salesperson. You have to sell your vision to your workforce. But I do think that one of the qualities that's not talked about enough with business leaders is humility. And what that did for me, taking part in that programme, was let me refocus on a number of areas of my life that I probably neglected because I've been so much concentrating on my business. Let me realise that you sacrificed relationships with the one you've loved in a number of cases just for the sake of the business. And you thought that by having a successful business and providing things for your families and etc., you were doing the right thing. But ultimately, what your family probably wanted was more of you rather than the benefits of your money, if you like, the benefits of your success. And it also showed me that the tremendous spirit that people have who are disadvantaged. Whether that be an elderly person, a blind person, a disabled person, how they can overcome the adversity that has faced them in their lives. So it really made me refocus on where my life was going, particularly as I approached my 50s. I think it was about 48 or 47 when I took part in the Secret Millionaire programme. I'm now 50. I think it made me reevaluate what do I want for that last phase of my working life. Where do I want to put my efforts? Not just in my business, but out with the business. And it really made me take up a real interest in charitable work and charities and how they operate, and very much looking at charity. I look at everything as a business, unfortunately, and I've been accused of that. Even relationships, they say you take your relationships like and that really did, and it made me focus on other areas of my life, and really made me reevaluate where I want to go, not just with my personal life, but also my business life and my business. Saying, as a company, were we doing enough on a social responsibility side? Were we actually looking after people as well as we could? So it was and there's no doubt about it, it was a life-changing experience. I think because I did the two programs. I did the first one, Secret Millionaire, where I went to Liverpool, and then I did a second program, which was called Secret Millionaire, How It Changed My Life. And it did change my life because it made me focus on areas that I neglected, but also made me reevaluate the future.
Now, one of the charities that you very much in support of following that was the Combat Stress charity, and I just want to see if you can draw any comparisons, because since we entered the recession in 2008, for small businesses, for the people who are reading this book, it's a stressful time, right? I mean, and I would imagine most people try and bury that stress and head down, get on with it. But I guess your work with the Combat Stress charities would say maybe you've learned something. Maybe it's better to share that, deal with that. Is there any comparisons we can draw?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt about it, because I bottled up a lot of my own emotions that to talk at, and when I'm giving out talks at universities or after dinner speaking, I very much focus on this. It's very important, particularly for start-up business or for sort of newly fledged businesses or early in their business career, that you must talk your problems through with others. I always advocate get a mentor or get coaching, somebody that you can share your ideas with. Network, and get involved with business associations where you're going to share your problems with other people, who have probably went through it all, and you're not going to have to suffer in silence, and they'll give you the answers. And that's one of the things that I didn't do earlier on by getting a coach or a mentor. But what I've always been very good is at networking. So I would always be able, and I was never, the daft question is the one that you don't ask. So I was never frightened to ask people. And I think it was very, very important. If you look at the stress that business people could go through, and it is, and there's no doubt about it, you're absolutely right. I have never known the economic conditions to be so tough. Absolutely, I've never known it. I gave an after-dinner speech on Friday night to the Fife Chamber of Commerce dinner, and my glass is always half full. It was very, very difficult for me to go in there and be positive at all. And I just have to say it as it is. And it's tough. I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. People talk about 2014. I personally don't see it at the moment. So when you're a one-man band or a very small business or just starting off, you feel it's a very lonely existence. Having your own business and being an entrepreneur is a very lonely existence because the buck stops with you. Nobody comes to you and says, "Well done, Tony, what a great job you've done." At the end of the day, you have to praise yourself. And as you become more successful, you tend to do that with material goods, nicer cars, nicer houses, nicer holidays, or whatever. So the stress that what I realised through my work with combat stress, that it can take a number of years before that manifests itself in individuals, and usually because generally mainly males, and the reason not because us males, we do not like to talk about our emotions. We don't like to talk about how we feel. Where women, I think, speak more freely about their emotions, etc. Where I think men tend to bottle up. So what I've realised, again, when I'm giving talks to businesses, etc., is, look, please talk about your issues early, because people that you network with, particularly within different business associations and communities, will have been there. They will have been through that problem. And if you can afford it, get professional coaching, because that will help you as a new startup business.
And there are lots of online communities and networks. Obviously face-to-face, human contact is always better, but as an alternative, these are good places to start, do you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. As I said, there's nothing like a face-to-face in that, with that personal touch. But with the advent of the internet now, information is more freely available. And you could post questions on any number of forums and get a number of views thrown back at you. And I think that people who are not embracing technology, we're past the first decade of the 21st century. You must be embracing technology in your business, particularly the internet. It's a powerful tool. I started my current business, probably 21 years ago now. Internet didn't exist really. Where now it's absolutely, it's essential to our business. Absolutely 100% essential to our business, the power of the internet and using the internet.
Is there anything that you would pull out as being an important thing for small businesses to understand or realise about the internet today specifically?
Well, what you have as a business person is that the internet is getting more and more widely used. The generations coming through now are used to using the internet. We're finding, I run a care home business. If I go back 20 years ago, the families that were placing people into the care homes were not computer savvy, didn't know about the internet. If I go back 15 years ago, it was the same. But in the last 5 years, absolutely, the families who are placing people in care homes use the internet all the time. It's the first port of call, because all the information they need about, so they don't have to spend time in the car going and visiting lots and lots of different care homes. They can get lots of information on the internet, good, bad and indifferent. So not just the website the care home maybe produces, but also if there's been anything negative posted on them about the care home. So they can get lots of information. So anybody that has a new business must be trying to have a good website, kept up to date, and try to drive traffic to it all the time. People are not picking up the phone as they used to phone a business. They're going on the internet. They're sending in emails inquiries. They're not making phone inquiries. So you've got to be driving all that traffic to your website, and that's why your website's hugely important. It has to be up to date, kept fresh. You must make sure that you're getting the right information out to the right people, and you're making sure that when people Google it, it's on that first page, because that's so important as well.
Brilliant. Okay, final question then. If you could go back in time and tell yourself one thing that you know now when you were starting out, what would that be?
Very difficult question. I think from my own point of view, from my business, my sort of initial 12 years with my business wasn't that successful in terms of growth. It was very much a family business. I wasn't really interested in growing it. It was more a lifestyle business. Something that we could work as a family. I think it was that midlife crisis. I got to 40 and realised I could be doing a lot better. So the thing that I've learned is that I should have grown my business a lot quicker, a lot sooner, because I had the knowledge, I had the expertise, the funding was available at that time, and I probably could have been in and out of this industry 2 or 3 times and made quite a lot of money. And that's been, I suppose, the biggest criticism I have of myself is that I should have expanded my business a lot quicker, a lot sooner, because as I said, I had the knowledge, I had the skills. What I didn't have probably at that time was the desire, but I still should have done it.